everyone, James here again, and this evening I'm recording a follow-up to my Phenomenology of Loneliness video that I recorded way back in February now, and also a bit of a reply to Davoud's video on loneliness. And this afternoon I'm going to be talking about my experience of anxiety, OCD, and things that have helped me. So I'm not giving advice. I'm not an expert in anything to do with this, but I'm just going to be talking about a few things that have helped me with these issues over the years. So something which I've had for a long time since being a child is an issue with anxiety and panic attacks. And I do think this is a hardwired thing. I'm going to come to this. I'm going to bring up a couple of books as we're going through. One in particular is, which I'll come back to, is Randolph Nesse's Good Reasons for Bad Feelings, but I'll come to that in a bit. But for me, one thing in particular which used to, and I'm much better now, but particularly as a teenager, as a young adult, let's say, my early 20s, before I really understood this, one issue that I had with OCD is not so much to do with cleanliness as such, but what's called intrusive thoughts. Now, with OCD, what can happen is people can get these thoughts that come into their head seemingly from nowhere, and they're often, well, called intrusive thoughts because they're very strong and very anxiety-producing thoughts, and they're usually to do with social taboos of some kind. Now, for example, let's say one of mine that used to be pretty bad, which I've got a lot better with, having got on planes a lot, would be, let's say you're on a plane and you're actually not, as I am not, I'm not really frightened of flying. I know it's perfectly safe, but you would get this thought come into your head that, okay, so what if I got up and what if I tried to open the door mid-flight? And it's not even as though you would actually do that. You would never actually do that. It's not like you want to do it, but it would be more that, right, so you would have this thought that you would do that, and you wouldn't actually do it, but then this anxiety would come into you, and you'd end up thinking, well, I'm having a panic attack here, but I can't tell anyone, because if I tell anyone what I'm having a panic attack about, they're going to think that I'm crazy. One of these thoughts that you'll often hear about in a lot of OCD stuff is people when they say, oh, they have an urge, well, not an urge, but a thought that what would happen if I just push someone in front of the train or something like that, and they would never do it, but it's the thought that causes them the anxiety, and I think just knowing that there's such a thing as OCD, and it causes these thoughts which people wouldn't act on, but it causes them to have this anxiety that there must be something wrong with them. Just knowing that there's such a condition helps a lot. It helped me coming out of my teenage years, and particularly one book which helped me a lot was this one called Overcoming Obsessive Compulsive Disorder, which I haven't actually looked at for a long time, which is really good. But one of the key insights which helped me from that was not to try and avoid the situation. So if you're in a situation like on a plane or something like that, keep in that situation, put yourself in that situation, and wait for your anxiety to come up and then go down. And the more that you do that, the more the anxiety will drop over time. The other thing that they say is not to fight the intrusive thought. So sometimes, you'll get this intrusive thought, and you feel like, oh, I've got to neutralise this. I've got to say, no, I'm not going to open the door for these reasons. I'm not going to do X, Y, Z, which is, like a terrible thought to me for these reasons. But then you end up fighting and ruminating with it. Kind of winds you up more. So what they suggest in this book is that you just let the thoughts come, don't engage with them, and eventually the anxiety will peak and it will go down, and that's true. That is true. Now, one thing that I want to talk a little bit about is what does this what did that feel like? You know, this the phenomenology of this kind of anxiety and OCD, and I remember feeling very estranged, feeling very alone before I understood this what this was. That there must be something wrong with me, etc. And what comes to me is as a visual symbol of that is Edvard Munch, even on Karl Johan Street. I don't know if you've ever seen this painting, but it's Karl Johan Street, which is a street in Oslo, I believe, or I think it was called Christiania back then. And there's these people walking towards Munch. I suppose it's done from his perspective, and there's this kind of cold stares. And I remember being back in my early days at university and feeling very much like that I was walking through the crowds and feeling very alone with these thoughts going through my head before I really understood what they were and was able to get some help with that. Munch actually has a painting called Anxiety, and there's also the famous There's the Scream, but I think actually the evening on Karl Johan Street is much better. That's sort of the crowds passing by and someone feeling very, very alone and very different from people, as though other people don't have these fears or these thoughts. But having said that, yes, I've got better with my OCD and anxiety, stuff like that. I know how to stay away from things which might cause me anxiety. But I do think, coming back to, if we're looking at Randolph Nesse here, Good Reasons for Bad Feelings, that I've been reading, I do think that there is something hardwired in me that is prone to more anxiety than other people. If we think of, I think it's called Myers-Briggs, those personality charts, where you've got neuroticism. I mean, I've done those. I mean, I know there's a whole host of reasons why they might be fallible, but I found them interesting, and my neuroticism comes up pretty high on that. And I would say from being a child that I have been very anxious, and it's as though my body, my mind looks for things to worry about. And what Nesse does in this book, he brings up the fire alarm theory of anxiety, and he says that for some people, their anxiety, it's like a fire alarm in your house that goes off too easily. So, for example, the evolutionary trade-off would be that, okay, so how many calories, if you're afraid of things, and that makes you stay away from things, the anxiety response burns some calories, whereas if you were wrong, and you actually, got eaten by a tiger, to use that way historical version, or you never went on a plane for the 1,000,000 to 1 chance that the plane crashed, you've preserved yourself, and in some people that anxiety state is set higher than other people, and I would say that is the case with me. As I say, I've got a lot better with it over the years since being in my late teens, early 20s, but it's still a part of me, but I've learned to manage it a lot better. Okay, so that's Nesse there. But another thing that I think has also helped me in more recent years as well is also learning a bit about Jung and integrating the shadow. And I think what was going on here is, often with OCD, and you'll read this a lot in the literature, that people with OCD tend to have a very heightened moral sense. They don't like to have, people might have thoughts, and we all have bizarre thoughts, but people with OCD really ruminate on these thoughts and think there must be something wrong with them. But and through the methods that I mentioned, staying in those zones and just letting the anxiety pass over me, that's got a lot easier. But something which has helped me a bit more, I think, over recent months is learning a bit about, you know, Jung's idea of integrating the shadow. And, you know, maybe recognizing there that, you know, there is a part of us which has these, you know, these malevolent thoughts, let's say. And while we would never act on them, just recognizing, perhaps for the person who has OCD, who maybe holds themselves to these very high standards, just recognizing that, it helps them understand that, okay, we all have maybe strange thoughts, violent thoughts that come in for these odd reasons. We would never act on them, but that is part of human nature. And I think thinking about that has helped me a little bit, to the extent that, okay, so these thoughts arise and then I just let them pass. But just recognizing that, I think it has made the numeracy of these obsessive thoughts, these sort of intrusive thoughts, go down, actually. Understanding that to a certain extent, these thoughts will, these kind of like intrusive thoughts will come into a human being, and that's part of being human. And if you accept that a little bit, you know, these thoughts come in, that lets them drop away. It's not another thing that you think that you're judging yourself against. So I hope you've found this interesting this evening, just a little phenomenological reflection on anxiety as I've experienced, and again, not in an expert way. I'm not giving advice. I'm just saying that these things have helped me over the years, and I look forward to trying to record some more videos a bit more frequently. Okay, have a nice evening, everyone. Cheers.